walk through stuff. So, but it's a walkthrough, so it's not. There was no real running or moving or anything. So, so we'll see. We'll see how where we are tomorrow. It's a topic that's people want to hear about and know about, and there's going to be a lot of questions about it. But we will not really know for sure until late tomorrow afternoon or early evening.
Front right, Tim.
Rick, as you've kind of watched Jalen Williams develop from afar over the last few years and then seen him up close, obviously, in this series, what stands out to you about his game and the way that he's evolved over his few years in the league?
Yeah, he's the quintessential modern-day wing. He can do everything. He can attack off the dribble. He can make plays and pass the ball. He shoots the three. He shoots mid-range. He finishes. He gets the n-ones. He creates a constant vertical threat on the rim. And I don't know him personally, but he looks like a great person and a great young leader on that team. And he's a guy that we gotta slow down somehow, and it's not easy.
Alvaro.
Ridmo. Zach Lowe published a comment from an anonymous GM saying that this is the hardest playing finals he can remember. When I looked at Second Spectrum data, in the 12 years they've tracked it, the 2025 Pacers in the finals have run the most miles and at the highest speed of any team, regular season or postseason, in history. Is it a product of your scheme, the opponent, the situation? Are there limits? This is a question I really have. Are there limits to pace and space?
Limits based upon what? The dimensions of the court?
That this is
the court. I don't believe the court's going to get bigger anytime soon. This has been a topic for many years. Players are getting bigger, they're getting faster. How do you create space? The arenas are pretty much configured a certain way, and it's just very difficult to try to find an extra 6 inches of width on the court on each side or whatever. And so, that's one reason that the three-point shot has been so advantageous to the game. It creates more space. But as far as the running fast and running far, that's how we play, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Will, all the way in the back in the center.
Hey, Rick, can you just talk about Coach Busick and what she's meant to this team all year long, but in particular this historic finals run and what her ceiling is?
Well, I continue to answer the question the same way. She's one of the best coaches in the world. She's a great teacher. She's a great communicator. She has great knowledge, and she's someone that's committed to constantly learning and getting better. And so, when she was a head coach in the W, her teams were elite offensively. I've asked her to take on the role, a different role here, really concentrating on the defense. And it's been really to this point an 18-month effort to get better. To help some guys that, weren't great defenders to become better team defenders, guys that were good defenders to hopefully become great defenders. And she's had a lot of impact on all that stuff. And, at some point in time, there will be a first female head coach in the NBA. I believe that. And I believe that she's one of the few that could be that person.
We'll go to Steve. Mike's coming up on your right.
Rick, can you talk a little bit about the protocols of using a player or not using a player if he's hurt versus injured? Is it different in a game like Game 5 when that happens on the fly versus heading into a game? Is it medical staff, the players want to, your involvement? Does it change? Yeah,
it's all the above. It's all that. we were all talking constantly during Game 5, and so yeah, and getting the feedback and but Game 5's over. It's time to move on.
Situations where you've had to rein a player in against his, most intense desires to be out there?
Yeah, but not without consultation with the medical staff and weighing all the factors. So, answer is yes.
Joe in the back.
Rick, a substantial number of us went to the wrong room. With Tyrese, we saw him out on the floor today. Was he able to do anything other than just sort of the set shots that we saw?
We did a 30-minute walkthrough. We did about 25 minutes of film, then a 30-minute walkthrough, and he was able to do both of those things.
And then I know you said immediately after Game 5 that you thought he had done some positive things in the second half. Having watched the film and gone over, do you still feel like he was while injured, he was still more of a positive being out there?
Well, he was in there when we got it to 2. We cut it to 2, and then what happened there was we had a good defensive possession. We overhelped and gave up a second shot, and it turned into a 3. And then we had an untimely turnover at the other end, and that turned into a breakaway dunk. And then all of a sudden, boom! It was 7 again. So, this is not related to Tyrese, but it's the two things right now that are really bothersome and challenging for us is the rebounding, the second shot rebounds, and the turnover. So we're going to do our best to address those things. But as far as Tyrese, he'll go through the day tomorrow. Our prep sessions tomorrow, late afternoon, and they'll get together and do some testing, and that will determine whether he plays or not. And if he doesn't play, we have a plan, obviously, if we're without him.
Last question here on the left, second row.
Rick Ariaga from ESPN Brazil. Would you say that everything that has happened in this series is absolutely normal? You guys won a road game. They won a road game. They did their job last game, won a game in Oklahoma. And now in Game 6, you have the chance to go with 7. I'm asking that because the atmosphere around this series and Oklahoma came such a big favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in this position before. We were in this position last year in the New York series. We were down 3-2, and we were coming back home. And so what we need to do is buckle down, stand strong, where we should. And I anticipate one of the best crowds in the history of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and we got to find a way. And the ultimate is to get to a Game 7. That's the ultimate privilege. It's the ultimate experience in sports. But we've got to take care of home court tomorrow to do that.
Thank you. All right. Take first question, Joe in the back center.
There's some interest in your calf. Do you have any update for us there?
Nothing more than you've already seen. I practiced today, did what I could. I know Coach just told you guys what the process will be tomorrow for me to play, and we're just taking it from there.
Are you dealing with a strain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim here front.
Tyrese, obviously you want to play. Everybody always wants to play. And it is the finals, which only makes you want to play more. How smart do you have to be, I guess, in this situation? Or are you not even thinking in those terms at this point?
Well, I think it depends on who you ask. I mean, you're asking me, so I think I have to be as smart as I want to be. I have to understand the risks, ask the right questions. But I'm a competitor. I want to play. I'm going to do everything in my power to play. And that's just what it is. But, I mean, I think the answer to that is dependent on who you ask.
Okay. Follow up here.
Can you give us an idea of what the treatment is like? Is it like, as close to 24 hours as you can do? Like, what do you do for a strained calf? What can you do for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think just around the clock stuff as much as I can. Massage, needles, hyperbaric, H-wave. I mean, just a bunch of different things to try to get it to feel as comfortable as you can going into it. The right tape and stuff, while I am performing. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of medical professionals who could give you a better answer, but just doing everything that I'm told, trying to do everything I can.
Next row back.
Hi, Tyrese. Guilherme Giovanni from ESPN Brazil. I would like to ask about your teammate, Andrew Nemhammer. He's doing a very good series, but he has, like in the last quarter, a few minutes that he turnover, he missed shots. Have you guys talked to him to keep his confidence high, and because he's a very important guy for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think through the course of the game, we all make mistakes. Nobody's really tripping off it. Understand who he is and how big of a part of our group he is. And, I think last game came down to much more things than, just a couple turnovers or a couple missed shots here and there. There's so many things that we can do better as a group. I think there doesn't even need to be a conversation about it. We're moving on to game 6 and, we feel like everybody's got an opportunity to be better in different areas and, everybody has to be prepared for that.
Dustin in the center.
Just to kind of clarify the timeline on this whole thing, I mean, you just generally referred to it as lower leg, but I guess, was it an ankle after game 2 and was it a calf after game 5? I guess were those two completely separate injuries? Had you been dealing with the calf at all before game 5 and that just become, I guess, when you tripped trying to drive on Chet there?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. You got him follow up? Dustin, one more.
Sorry, Ty. You've talked before about the situation when, the staff kind of saves you from yourself, basically. I mean, just how much trust, I guess. I mean, you obviously have a lot of trust, but I mean, just what have those conversations been like over time when you've dealt with various kinds of injuries? And obviously, how much trust have you sort of gained the medical staff and in its opinion and when it comes to situations like this? And like you said, sort of taking care of you, make sure you don't go beyond what you can do.
Yeah, I have a lot of trust in our medical staff. I have a lot of trust in our organization to make the right decision. I think, there's been many situations through the course of my career where they've trusted me on my body. And I mean, you're here more than anybody. I'm questionable from time to time throughout the course of the season, and they trust me to make the right decision on my body when the power is in my hands. And I'm going to try my best to do that. But I mean, you understand. I want to be out there, and that's the plan.
Michael, last question here.
It's real quick, Tyrese. Thank you. It goes without saying, maybe, but if this was regular season, would you even think about playing? And does it feel like something that would keep you out for a week or 2 weeks, or how does it feel in that context?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that would probably be the case. But we're not in the regular season, so it is what it is.
Thank you, Tyrese. We'll take questions around the room. Tim, right here in the front left.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Pascal, I know you guys would rather be up in the series or get to 4 already, but if you go by the schedule, it's supposed to be 3-2 them right now. I guess how simple does that make things? Home court is held, and all you got to do is win a home game to get to Sunday. Do you keep it that simple, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all we can do, right? Think about the next game, great opportunity in front of our fans. I'm sure it's going to be, a huge moment for our fans, and they're going to be super excited, and we have a chance at home NBA Finals. Like, it's a great opportunity, and that's all it is.
Couple of rows back, Jamal.
Pascal, TJ McConnell, just kind of what kind of a boost, just in general, this series has he given you guys, and obviously given Tyrese's status, how important is he going to be for tomorrow?
Yeah, no, super important. I thought he played well. Just being TJ, doing the things that he does. I think offensively, he's another person that, another ball handler, someone that can get us to our spots, push the pace, and yeah, he played great last game, and he's going to be huge for us, going forward too.
Michael?
Pascal, Michael Grange from Sportsnet, Toronto. When Tyrese was kind of limited in Game 5, you stepped up, had that huge fourth quarter. You've had some other really big scoring games in this playoff run. Are you prepared? Do you expect to have more burden on you going into Game 6?
I mean, I think the way we play, I think it's never been about one person. So I don't really look at it that way. I think obviously like Tyrese is a big part of what we do. Like and you know whether he plays or not, like I think it's gonna be a team thing. You know, like we have to together all step up and you know. The importance of the game, you know, we just all have to take a step forward, like, and it's going to be down the line. So I don't think any one of us should feel like, you know, one person is going to have to do it. It's going to be collective.
Any other questions for Pascal?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
All right, we'll take first question here on the second row on the left.
Hi, Mark. Guilherme Giovannone from ESPN Brazil. You guys have been have some difficulties in passing the ball on the road. You guys have like 13 assists per game in this series, one play here. Is that a thing that you are guys looking forward to improve, to make the ball move a little bit better?
Yeah, we have to play better offensively out here to win the game tomorrow. They do a great job at home. They play with a lot of energy. They really pressure. They're up the floor, and we can expect them to bring that tomorrow. And so, you know, we have to play with the requisite force in order to counter that if we want to give ourselves a chance to compete.
On the right side, second row.
Mark over here, Robert O'Connell, Wall Street Journal. The stat that's been going around a lot this series about no NBA leading scorer winning the championship since 2000. If you take like a zoomed out view, does that tell you anything about the way the sport has evolved over the first part of this century? And what's it say about Shai being in a position potentially to buck that trend?
I don't know. I have a hard time with like the trends and analyzing those. I'm not the most equipped person to do that. We're dialed in on Game 6, to be honest with you. But yeah, Shai's incredible. You know, he's a great teammate, great player. But we're focused on Game 6.
Nick in the back.
Mark, for years now, you guys have tried to take a really tactful approach to situations where the opposing team either doesn't have one of their top guys or, maybe one of those guys is limited. What do you draw on maybe from past experiences going into this game where Haliburton's status is kind of unclear?
Haliburton's a great player. One thing we know is you don't underestimate great players. So in the case that he plays, we're expecting his best punch. Indiana's a great team. We don't underestimate great teams. So in either case, whether he plays or not, we're expecting Indiana's best punch, especially at home. And so we'll be prepared for the best punch from both him and the team.
Back left.
Mark, you talked about uncommon maturity all year with this team. In what ways has Kaysen showed you that uncommon maturity in this series leading up to Game 5?
Yeah, he's the man. You know, I thought he did a good job. In his minutes in the first couple games, I didn't think he shot the ball well, obviously, so that can be loud, but it had the desired effect in terms of playing him the way we did on transition defense and on perimeter point of attack. And despite the shooting, and he was in the starting lineup, we moved him out of the starting lineup, he just comes out with great confidence in Game 5 and steps into those shots and makes big plays and was also incredibly impactful defensively, which is critical against this team. So we're going to need him again tomorrow. You know, we're going to need everybody.
Staying in the back left.
Tomorrow with clutch points. Mark, I remember a couple of years ago in LA, you coined this phrase competitive empathy when you talk about a team, whether they're coming off a big win, big loss, and addressing kind of their mental state with the team. Do you need to have a conversation like that with your team, addressing where they might be mentally, where you guys are mentally, given that you're probably just one win away, from a championship?
Hopefully we have that habit built. You know, that's really the way we look at all these things is there's no new material right now, and so we're always trying to put ourselves in the opponent's shoes, understand what the opponent's going to bring to the game, prepare for our opponent's best punch in every situation, 0-0 mindset despite what's going on in a series or last game or whatever. We're not introducing any new concepts right now. We're just leaning on the psychological habits we've tried to build over a long period of time.
Joel
Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Hey, Mark. I don't know if you've had time to reflect on this recently. Maybe you have in the past few off seasons, but you look back at that 2022 draft and I don't know, Chet and Jalen these days seems like one of the crazier hauls of this, past decade or so. Do you remember what you thought about that draft then, and sort of how do you feel about it now? What comes to mind about just getting those two guys in the same draft?
I'm not really in a reflective state right now, but they're great players. We take every draft. Sam does a great job identifying the guys we think can help. We start the process of developing those guys and see where it goes. And obviously, it's gone great with those two guys. They've done a great job, and we're going to need their best tomorrow in Game 6.
Tim on the left.
Tim Reynolds, AP. Hi, Mark. I wasn't there, obviously, but when Sam did his preseason meeting with your reporters, he talked for like an hour, and he never said the word championship, but it's clear what the expectation was for this team. How did you guys sort of create that concept of championship culture, championship belief, championship aspirations without putting that championship burden on that label on this team? Like it's never been championship or bust with you guys. How have you grown without hammering that word home over and over and over?
I think if you want to accomplish anything, you have to stack to it. If you want to accomplish any goal, it starts with what you can do today to step towards that goal. And we've tried to take a stacking mindset to everything we've done. You can't, even when the team was rebuilding, you can't fast forward that process. You have to be very present in the process and just stack days and stack possessions. We want to win the game tomorrow, but the most important thing we need to do to win the game tomorrow is prepare today and prepare tomorrow, and then play the first possession really well, and then the next possession, and then the next possession. And that's how we try to approach a game. It's how we try to approach playoff series. It's how we try to approach every single day and let that win the day. If you do that, then you can put your head on the pillow at night and know that you gave it everything you had. The minute you start to drift mentally into the future, into the past, it impacts your ability to stack the next thing. And so we try to stay very disciplined to that.
Steve in the middle.
Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. When it comes to Shai and Jalen, the shots distribution, the scoring opportunities, how much of that is art and how much of that is science?
Most of the great players are art. They're unbelievably unique. They have unbelievable skill sets. That's every great player. Siakam's like that. Haliburton's like that. Those guys are like that. They're one of one. All the great players are. And so a lot of it, for us is just trying to help every player on our team maximize their individual style of play. Obviously, those two guys have very broad styles because of all the things they can do, but they deserve the credit for what they're able to do out there on the court. They're great players, but they do it inside the team, and so it doesn't suffocate our team. It doesn't take away from our other players' abilities to impact the game, and that's why the team's been successful.
Joe, last question in the back.
Mark, you guys were the second best defensive team in the league last year, and then obviously the best this year, numbers-wise. So how far back does making defense your calling card go?
I think whatever our calling cards are, similar to the answer about our mindset, I like to think that they go back as far as, the beginning of this build, when Dort and Shai and Cameron Williams were a part of the team. Hopefully most of the stuff, we've evolved and we've definitely improved some things, but hopefully most of the big rocks are things that are very familiar. Even back then, that was our mindset back then is to plant the right seeds and to have the right themes and to have the right emphasis so that we weren't reaching a point of changing that, because there's no day you become you don't know what day it's going to be that you become a good team, so we've tried to stay very consistent. It's served us well, and now that we're in high stakes environment, it's comforting because it's familiar. There's, like I said, there's no new material. We're not walking in today with a new riff. We're walking in and pounding away at the same stuff we've been pounding away at for 5 years.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Michael, first question right here.
Hey, Shai.
What's up?
Michael Grange from Sportsnet Toronto. couple of questions, really. Does it feel any different just being on the cusp of a chance to win a title, given, you've been kind of chasing this for a couple of years now? And two, do any of your experiences with, say, the national team, playing U.S. for bronze or, playing in Paris against France in an Olympic elimination game, do either of those things enter into your kind of experiences in terms of how you might face this situation in the next couple of games here?
Yeah, it doesn't feel much different, to be honest. We trying to stay in the moment, trying to focus on the things that actually matter. And I think just us focusing on trying to be the best version of ourselves for Game 6 and having that at the top of my mind is all that really matters. And then, yeah, for sure, those type of games, the do or die games, you only get one chance. A lot of times they start a certain way, and in the France game, just for recent memory, they started a certain way, and although we try to climb back in it, they had control of the whole game because of that. So yeah, those experiences definitely helped me in my experiences going forward.
Tim on the left.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Shai, it's only 3-2, obviously, but how rewarding has it been the way you guys have done this, the way you guys knew you would take some lumps for a couple of years and then got to almost 500, and then the last 2 years have been what they've been? To do it that way, to grow organically and to add bit by bit, just how rewarding has the process been now that you're on the cusp of winning this thing?
It's been fun. Now, the cusp of winning is not winning, and the way I see it, winning is all that matters. So it hasn't been fulfilling. We haven't done anything the way I see it, but I've built great friendships along the way. I've had a lot of fun playing basketball, and I think that's where you start. And the organization and the guys around me have done a really good job of building an environment that's fun to come to every day, and really just focus on work and getting better. And I think that's why we made jumps.
Tim, front right.
Shai, with the individual accomplishments you've had this season, MVP, leading the league in scoring, the team accomplishments, you're a win away from putting the finishing touches on a season that's in the special category historically. How do you wrap your mind around that?
Focusing on Game 6, focusing on just being the best version of myself for this basketball team, for whatever it takes, for however many games there is, for however many possessions is needed, for however many moments. Ultimately, I'm just trying to stay in the moment. I think that's what's gotten me here. That's what's helped me achieve the MVP award, achieve all the things that I've achieved. And I helped this team win basketball games. So trying to stick to that script and just focus on winning basketball games.
Steve towards the center.
Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. This league has a history of tandems, two stars on a team that take a team to its heights. I'm wondering, I know you're team players, all of you guys, but within that, how do you look at the dynamic that you and Jalen have developed, and still are developing, to be able to become the two best players you each can be?
Yeah, it's been fun so far. I think both of us just trust each other, have the same mindset, winning mindset, want the best for each other above all. Me and him are also just naturally really good friends. We talk all the time, on and off the court, are always together. So that helps with it for sure. And then we just use our experiences together to grow. Whether I see something, he sees something, whether we feel something in the moment, both being out there, we just use everything that we go through together to grow on and off the court, and it's helped us so far.
Alvaro up front.
Alvaro Martin of Ritmo. You guys have won all sorts of ways. Higher possessions, you win. Lower possessions, you win. You screen in Game 4, you win. You shoot earlier in Game 5, you win. All these things are probably thought through by the coaching staff. To what extent are the players beginning to contribute to the reading and feedbacking to the coaching staff? We're seeing this. And who are the connectors when these big changes are made in game that make sure everybody's on the same page? Who are the middle linebackers that keep everybody on form?
So the coaches make the calls, obviously, and then honestly, the rest of us just like the coaches do a really good job of making things simple out there. So like they give us a few things when we go out there to try to take care of every possession. And then we just go out there and play off of those few things and our feel for the game. And I think it's a luxury to have the guys on the team that we have with the natural basketball feel and understanding of the game. It makes that easier. So we're never like what you just described. It's never that complicated for us. It's just like we go out there, we have concepts on both ends of the floor that we play through, and we try to make the best decision and an aggressive decision through those concepts. Your second question, I forgot what it was.
When the changes are made, who are the connectors that make sure that everybody's sort of on court is on form?
Yeah. I think we all do our part. Everybody on the team. And the thing about this team is like we're very open and honest with each other. So if we don't understand something, if we don't know what's going on, it's easy to ask a question. It's easy to help. We're always talking to each other. So everyone's always informed. I think it's a whole group effort.
Last two, Tomer and Joe.
Hey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with Clutch Points right here. A couple of years ago, Mark talked about competitive empathy and understanding what your team is going through physically, mentally, and then also what your opponent's going through. And he talked about how that's been established over years, not just over a couple games here and there. How have you guys established that over the years, through some losing seasons as well, to where you understand where your opponent's at, where you guys are at, and how do you kind of apply that in this series where they have Haliburton kind of hobbled and you guys are a win away from a championship?
Yeah, Coach has done a really good job over the years of like highlighting and really putting emphasis on the things that matter and the things that you can control in a basketball game. And your mental approach is one of them, and he's always been big on those type of things. So I think honestly now it's like a trained muscle, but he does a really good job of like always thinking big picture and zooming out of the moment. So like even if we're in a losing season a couple years ago, and I don't approach the game the right way, he'd pull me aside after and explain to me that it's a muscle that I'm gonna have to build. It's gonna be something that I can't turn off and on, and I have to approach it a certain way. And I think like that's his biggest strength. Like as a coach, he understands the game, and then he understands how to connect with players and give them the right information to benefit themselves and then ultimately benefit this team. That's all, Coach. To answer your question, he's prepared us great in that way.
Joe, last one, back left.
Shai, I know you're focused on trying to win tomorrow instead of some of the more reflective stuff. When you guys were going through that historic regular season and 30-5 and 15-game winning streak and all that, after the games, you guys would say it's just part of a process. When you're going through that process, are you thinking about where you are now, like envisioning that, and is it what it looks like? Is this what it looked like to you then, or are you really focused on the day-to-day stuff that you were going through at the time?
Yeah, really focused on the day-to-day things. You don't never know what life is going to throw at you, and I've just learned that over time. So trying to and this is me personally, trying to picture what it's going to look like or what it's going to feel like for me is it's kind of pointless. And I try to make it an emphasis not to do so. And obviously I'm human, so I naturally think about my dreams and my goals. But as much as I can and as well as I can, I try to focus on the day-to-day and focus on what's gotten me to my dreams and my goals. And that's where I hang my hat.
Thank you. Jalen will be in Steve in the middle here on third row.
Hi, Jalen. Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. I'm wondering offensively, for the responsibilities that Shai and you have on a nightly basis, when it comes to shots taken, scoring opportunities, how much is that a result of what your system steers you guys towards, and how much of that is maybe just organically for the type of players that you are and how you play?
You're saying like how many shots I shoot a game, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's your leading scorer. Is he always likely to be your leading scorer? Are you likely to be the number 2 scorer? I mean, because of the way you guys play, or because of the players you are?
Honestly, it's a mixture of both of those. I think what helps is that we both want to win. So for me and him, it doesn't really matter who's leading scorer or who's not. I think it also helps pecking order wise. He's the MVP. So if he wants to shoot a lot of shots, I'm going to tell him good shot every time. So that's kind of how that works. But a lot of it, too, is a result of just our offense and how, like, other guys play around us. And I think just how it's structured. But we don't really, like, go into, like, games and we're like, all right, I'm going to shoot 20 times and Dub, you're going to shoot 12. You know what I mean? It's kind of like taking whatever the game gives us. And I think that's what makes us a good team.
Front right.
Joseph Pavone, Clutch Points. Jalen, I can imagine after your historic performance, kind of messages and phone calls you received. I'm wondering, what's a name that maybe you hadn't heard from a long time, or someone that possibly reached out that stands out the most within the last 24 hours or so?
Outside of my parents, nobody for real. Like friends and family. Honestly, try not to answer my phone as much, even though that probably sounds like I'm a jerk. But there's just a lot of highs and lows throughout the series, and you don't get as many texts if you don't play well. So I try and keep that in perspective too. But a lot of it can be really overwhelming if you give a lot of energy to it. So it makes me sound like a jerk, but I try and get back to them after business is done. But a lot of it just trying to like put my phone away and like spend time with the people that are like at the game and like here with me.
Nick in the back.
Dub, we've talked so much about your adaptability as a group, and a lot of that conversation's been sort of internally when you all change things up. There's some uncertainty potentially coming at you in Game 6 in terms of Haliburton status, and you guys have had experience in these types of situations before. Can you maybe just explain the adaptability that you guys feel when other teams' circumstances change on you and you guys have to deal with that?
A big thing for us just during the season has been, and it's the NBA, so it's kind of funny. You never know who's actually going to play or not throughout the season. So we've done a really good job of focusing on us, and the Pacers are a very good team. Like I've been saying before, like you don't stumble into the finals, and you surely don't get into the finals with just one person. So we're going to get their best punch regardless of who plays and who doesn't. And, they're going to be fighting like their backs against the wall. So that's kind of like the mindset that we have going into it. And then whoever lines up is who lines up. But it's going to be no shortage of energy. And, they're going to play their hearts out, obviously. So that's kind of the mindset we have with it. And then whoever plays, plays.
Back row on the right.
Hey, Dub, here, Tins in China. First of all, great game last night. And at this time, the plot of this series looks familiar to that Denver one. So obviously, from that one, you guys won Game 5 and ultimately advanced in Game 7. 7 games. So what did we learn from that one in terms of long series and no secrets between those two teams, quote unquote, and try to close this one now tomorrow?
You try and take the lessons from each series and go from there. So a lot of it for this series was like for Game 1, for example, it's like, all right, we lose Game 1, pretty heartbreaking one. Obviously, a game winner in the finals for them is super cool, and for us, it sucks. But just kind of having a maturity of like understanding the highs and lows of a series, and the biggest thing for us is it's 1st to 4, not 1st to 3. So the same way that we felt Game 1, they probably felt last game, and they're going to come in focused for this one. So you try and take the lessons a little bit from Denver and understand what we could have did Game 6. Like we didn't come out ready to play, quite frankly, in Game 6, and we didn't do a good job of sustaining our energy through that series. So we're going to try and do a little better with that on this one. And, where the chips fall, they fall. But a lot of that is just trying to, like, grow through each experience.
Michael, here in the front.
Yeah. Michael Martin, Let's Talk Thunder. Dub, a couple days ago, you talked about growing up playing the one before you had your growth spurt. I just wanted to ask, what sort of point guard were you? Were you sort of the classic guy? What was sort of your game like before you sort of started playing on the wing?
I was like Andre Miller. That was somebody that I watched a little bit. Just like, it's going to sound like a shot at him, but it's not. But just like kind of like unathletic a little bit and like kind of below the rim kind of player. So I was like kind of like slow-footed, but just understood like pace. Shot the ball really well. I shot a lot of threes. Kind of like pass first almost. So that was my game.
Last two over here and in the center.
Jalen, you just became the player with the fewest minutes played to ever score a 40-point game in the NBA Finals since the minutes started being tracked in 1955. And alongside with Shai, you both had averaging 30 points in the last 3 games. You joined LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. When you hear your name in these conversations, how do you feel? How special is to be along those sides, those guys, in such a special something so early in your career?
Yeah, it's a blessing for sure. God's put me in a good space, man. It's like kind of like bittersweet because it happens in the finals. So a lot of it is like getting over it pretty quickly. So I've stopped thinking about it, but that night was really cool. It's something that I don't take for granted. Yeah, elite company for sure, but it's something that I've also put on the back burner. Like for me, that game no longer matters. And now we're trying to close out a series. But looking back on it, like when I'm done playing basketball, like just to be in those conversations, I think is really cool and really special. And having my family gets to be a part of it too. Like for them to be at the game was super cool.
Alvaro up front, last one.
Alvaro Martin Ritmo, GM said that this has been the finals where he's seen both teams play the hardest in a long time. Putting aside physicality, Indiana setting records of speed and distance. How does it feel in terms of covering the court and at the speed you're running? Do you feel that? Is that assessment correct in your experience?
Yeah, for sure. The game's going by super fast. I expected the physicality part. Like everybody's playing to win a championship, so the physicality part's always going to be there. But I think the similarities in which each team plays with, you can, and watching it, like you can feel how fast the game is. And I think for both teams to be young, I think everybody's kind of enjoying themselves. So that's definitely part of the game. I'm happy that it's like been that way too. Just from like it's living up to being in the finals, and it's fun to play physical and fast and do that. So that it does feel that way, the same way that everybody's watching and it does feel that way too.
Thank you, Jalen.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.